Hello, hello. I am back. I took a little break, so now I am going to continue more. If you notice, the first thing that we accomplished here is the cover completely the canvas. I don't think there's any white canvas showing. Well, maybe a little bit right here, but we can fix that. So now we're going to start doing a little more of the values, a little more of the detail, and the different pastel areas. So in this main flower, I will start adding a little bit of the, I would call it pastel, kind of a blue, light blue. And so I add a little bit of liquid, and I start off with the white first, and then I add a tiny bit of blue to give me that almost baby blue in the lighter areas. And the flower here, it's a little more prominent. It's closer to us, closer to the viewer. So not all of them are going to be that blue, but some of them are going to have that medium value, and then some will be very light. So this is when I introduce, mostly I've been using a couple brushes, but here I am going to bring another smaller one, because there is like 3 different shapes. So I'm going to get the lighter, and it's like a lighter kind of a cool burgundy. I'm going to call it more of a fuchsia color, actually, to bring it in. So in this, you have the light value, the medium on this side here, and then over here to the right, which is right underneath all of that foliage, that's when we come in with the more of the darker colors. So I'm keeping my light brush, and then I have the one with the blue, and I'm going to bring yet another one for even the darker areas. So in that darker, I get that it's darker, but it does have some color in it, which is the Alizarin crimson with ultramarine blue. Now I think I went a little too much there, which is fine, because we can tone it. In this case, we're just I'm gonna lighten it a little bit. It's got a little too dark, but just a little bit, but we can fix that very easily, by doing a little bit of blending there. Okay, so in this area, I'm going to come in with some more of the darker blue petals. So I like to go in between to give the impression in between the petals. And sometimes there's areas where you don't really have to define every single round petal. Just remember, when you focus on an area, then the rest does not have to be into a sharp focus. We are mimicking the way that we see things. So sometimes it's a good idea to just blur areas. Our brain knows that there's a lot of defined little petals that we don't see, but we know that they're there. Okay, so that's basically what that is. All right, so now let's do this one's here. So I'm going to come in here with my lighter brush, lighter blue, up in here where the light is hitting it, and also over in here and here. And see, this area, this is going to be easier. It's not even in focus because it's way back there. But if we can come in now. I'm going to come in here with to give it a kind of a pink, lighter lavender, actually violet, I would call it violet. So with the Alizarin Crimson and the ultramarine blue is what's giving me that pastel looking violet colors in there. And I'm not going to want it as dark as this here, so I can pick up little bits of color. And just basically it's kind of repeating the values in here, but it's more out of focus. So we have the light, the medium, and the darks. Okay? So it's the same principles. And the same thing we're going to do up in here. Now here's a sharper contrast. It's like the outline of the partial petals that are showing. So we have that very dark petals still out of focus. and cast shadows. And we want a very definite difference in value against the foliage, against the leaves. Okay, so you see me getting so much darker in this area because I want to show up that leaf right there. But this dark, I'm also doing it in a shape, the edges of what would be petals, the shapes of petals. So I'm using the appropriate size brush for that, a smaller round brush. Now it's dark, but now I find that it's a little bit too bright. I don't really want it bright. I want it a darker value. So I'm going over it and toning down some of that brightness. Okay, so now I've got the brightness. Now I want some of the lighter value petals. Which is when I use my little brush with the round tip. And you revisit the different areas. It helps to look at it with renewed interest and from a different perspective. So it's okay, we work on a little bit on an area and you come back and look at what you did before and see how it seems to you now. Okay, all right, so now let's get over here to this one. Now this one here we're gonna separate with the lighter value, the blue and the ultramarine. Now the same thing. No, it's more of just areas, patches of values, and with no defined, really defined petals. Just it's kind of fun to do like that. So now I'm going to do the top part kind of dark. See, if you have the right brush, then all you need to do, the right size brush and shape, is just by touching the edge, you get more or less pretty close to the shape that you are looking for already, because that's you're using the right brush for the right job, for the right area. Okay, so that's that white space that I was looking at. Okay, it might have a little more detail than needed, but I like it. So I'm going to leave it. It's not too detailed, but... Alright, so now in the case like here, there is kind of a tiny, a smaller one in between. There's two here. So in between these two, there's a smaller one. So I am going, so that one's going to be darker. It's small, but it's significant. So I'm going to make sure that it gets noticed by using contrast. So I'm keeping that one also quite dark. So now we see it, but also keeping in mind the edges that also have this little bits of petals showing. Just an insinuation that, yeah, there's more little petals there without any real detail. Okay, now in here we're going to partition this, so to speak, like we did our main lady, which was this one here. We are going to separate this also with the light petals, because the light's on the left side, like here. So it's the same thing we're gonna do by adding a little bit of some of these petals. Superimpose them on top of that other small partially showing flower back there. The little hydrangea is between, it's kind of sandwiched in between these two. Sandwiched in, like 1, 2, and then in the middle. So I really want that to pop out because I want it to look like there's some light shining on that side. So that's where I'm coming, not quite white, but almost white. So that really, it looks like it's the sunshine, the light is really hitting that area. And that's all you need. You can continue with this, the rest of it with very little detail, really. But now see, you just fill that in. It's not that hard to do. Just get the right value, the right, and our brain really does the rest for us. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, okay, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm going to do with the leaves, and then I will just be quiet for a while until I complete this painting. Alright, so what I'm going to do now with the, well, I still want this area a little darker, I think. Yeah, like that. All right, so when it's time for you to do the leaves, you want to get your, you can use your cadmium yellow light, and that's gonna be your lighter value with your green to separate your petals. Okay, for example, let's say right here we have a leaf, and it's almost the same value, green all the way. Like let's think of it, if you're painting a wall, usually just one value. But now we need to separate it. We need to have the light one. So I'm coming in here with a little bit of that cadmium yellow light and a tiny bit of white, and that is what I am going to paint this with. And the tip of that petal, which is right here, has a little lighter value than up above in this area. So I'm going to add a little more yellow and the white for it to stand out. Okay, now over here it has a little bit of reflected color, so it has a little more blue, and I notice that it looks a little bit like pastel type of thing. And so by adding the white, that's making it opaque or chalky, pastel. Any of those terms would be fitting to that area in here. And yeah, some blue. It's got, like I said, some reflected color. Now over on this side, I would think of it as black green. At the very tip of that leaf, there is a dark green, which is it's a black green. So I'm only adding that to the very tip of half of that leaf. So just in that one leaf, there is a very light, and there's a little bit of blue and white in here. So there's a few values there, quite a few, just in that one leaf. Now I am going to give a little bit of just an insinuation of veins going across. And I would say, like with everything, I would call this like the main leaf. So I'm taking a little more time with it. With that same black green, I'm doing a slightly light, not very detailed, but what it would show the veins going across. Now, right now, you can't really see much of a difference. It's about the same value as this one, but it's up next to that other leaf behind it. So what we're going to do is going to come in here with the black green, with the ultramarine blue, raw umber, almost half and half, and I'm going to start painting that other leaf that's underneath. And now we see the shape of that main lady leaf that we're talking, that I like to talk about. I call them the prima donna because it's the attention getter of the leaves. With the flowers, this one's the prima donna because that one is going to bring you, your attention is going to be drawn to that one. With the leaves, it's going to be this one here. So now you can see it. All right, so now I think that's what I wanted to talk to you about with the leaves, how you're going to go about painting your leaves. Now the other one, the other leaves, more or less it's going to be the same principle, but not as pronounced. For example, you have two leaves here. So this one you're going to separate from that by darkening it right where it meets it. See, right where that one finishes, the edge. Now this here, see? There it is. There's the separation. So that's how you're going to, that's the process. You can come in here and same thing. You've got two here. Okay, now we separated them. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to start painting. And I want to thank you for painting this with me. And let me know if you have any questions or any suggestions in the comments. And happy painting, and we'll see you next time. Alright, so now I'm going to work a little bit on the tablecloth. And I'm just coming in with some white and a little bit of warm cad yellow light to get some of this folds to show up a little more. So when there's a fold, if you do a little, you go in a little with your value, your dark value, and you're going to form a little bit of a dip so that it's in here like this, and then out, and then straight out like this. So where there's a dip, then on top you're going to accentuate, that's where you want to accentuate the highlight. So there's my dip, and now I'm going to add a highlight right there, because that is how the light would reflect on that higher that lifted ruffle. I think that we're going to have this go all the way to the edge, the tablecloth, I think. Run it out of the canvas. It's better, it's easier. Now that we're looking for easy, but it's just your eye doesn't stop, which is sometimes that's a good thing. But now I'm going to come right back here and darken this and smooth it out now even more. The table, it's kind of red, so it kind of gives me the feeling that it's a mahogany kind of wood. It's kind of a rich, some richness to it. So because we covered the canvas pretty early on, as remember when we first started, and let's just get some color. Now it's so much easier to just come back and paint over that base that we did at first. And now we can concentrate a little more on the evenness, or the texture, or the mahogany color. A little more detail, the soft edges or hard edges, the lifted, ruffled tablecloth, that kind of thing. That's when we do that towards the end of the painting. We also add, because of the tablecloth is white, that's remember that it reflects all colors. White reflects all colors. So there's going to be a little more shading in the tablecloth. Now here is that shading to where the edge of the table is. So it creates a very subtle fold. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna be gone now for till the next time. But all I'm gonna be doing is just darkening in here, adding a little more white where I need highlights where I need it with a tablecloth, and that kind of thing. The edges, the sharper edges. In here, I'm gonna do my very dark raw umber ultramarine blue, and just intensify that dark. All right, so that's what you can do. Also, just build it up. All right, thank you very much for having joined me in this project. Have a great day. Thank you. Until next time.